What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brock, and we're graced with the presence of Jeff Manning today, whoever that
How's it
is.
going?
How's it
Happy
going,
to be
Jeff?
back. Happy to be back.
We're happy to have you. How's it going?
Everything's good. Playing a little
Good.
GWF.
Nice, nice. Today we're discussing, it was your choice. Do you want to introduce it?
Sure. I would like to say that it was a Legends episode, so I went with one of my favorites. The guy I used to play with on WCW NWO all the time on the Nintendo 64.
Yes.
Mr. Self High Five himself. It's DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. I'm also a proud owner of his yoga series, although I don't do
Ooh,
it as much as I should. But it's really good program. Yoga
nice.
for regular guys, and it's how he stays fit. And he does throw some wrestling references in there with his he does his little flex. And he's like, "Hulk it up" every time he does that. But,
Nice.
no, so we're gonna talk a little Diamond Dallas Page. I like his story. We'll get into that and just how he came to be a successful wrestler,
hmm
kind of the underdog story.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a big big player in the Monday Night War era.
Yeah.
An unlikely player, I think, too. I don't think they ever thought he was going to get that popularity. And then it
No,
just kind of he got a move over and the the crowd latched onto him and he became the people's champion.
I mean, I think we see some of the same popularity with like a guy like Randy Orton. The move helped immensely. I mean, the Diamond Cutter, it was a precursor to the RKO. He could hit it anywhere at any time. That
Out
made
of
it
nowhere.
fun. I mean, it is weird that he came to be because he started off as a manager,
hmm
first in AWA with like I think it was Kurt Hennig was his first one, but then he came out as the Diamond Dallas Page with Diamond Stud, who was Scott Hall, and you just when you saw him back then, you didn't think he was ever going to be a wrestler. If he was, I thought he was kind of big for a manager, but you
Oh yeah,
never.
he's like 6'5", isn't he?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a tall guy.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit older when he finally got his break, and he
hmm
in a weird era where everything was Stone Cold or NWO, depending on what side you were on. He made his
Right.
niche there, like representing WCW. I mean, you could argue that he at that time period he was bigger than Ric Flair, or Sting in that regard. I mean, Sting had his
I think he was.
pro Sting thing going on, but DDP teamed with Carl Malone. He teamed with Jay Leno. I mean, it sounds silly, but it made big headlines.
It did. It did. It was everywhere. He was on the Tonight Show
Oh,
several times
and
promoting that.
he was the main villain in Ready to Rumble.
Yep, one of the
Uh,
greatest movies of all time,
one of the greatest wrestling movies for sure.
featuring another world heavyweight champion,
Oh,
David
let's not talk.
Arquette.
We're not going down that route.
I,
Let's
I can
let's not.
honestly say I've never seen that movie.
Oh,
It's it's
I
decent.
couldn't bring myself to watch it.
It's
oh,
actually decent.
it's actually a pretty funny movie. But yeah, I've got it on Vudu. So if we meet up sometime at GalaxCon, that might be a night of
Night of the matches.
drinking and Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, see, the first time I remember DDP, he was managing Bad Company because I was a big fan of Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka.
Mm,
I because I used to Paul Diamond I knew because he had wrestled in All Star Wrestling out in Vancouver.
hmm.
So I knew Paul Diamond, so I latched on to him, Canadian boy, and Paul Hard Rock Diamond. And he became, the Bad Company. AWA didn't have too many tag teams back then. It
Yeah.
was like Bad Company, Destruction Company. There were a lot of companies, and he paired up with them, and yeah, he did manage Kurt Hennig for a bit, and I know he managed Medusa,
hmm
and I
Colonel
think
De Beers, apparently.
oh yeah, I couldn't get behind the old white supremacist South
Yeah.
African guy, so I never got behind him. So
Yeah. That was the people he was with in AWA before he went to WCW.
okay, I wasn't familiar on because usually when the Colonel come on, I just didn't watch it. I just couldn't get behind that guy.
Makes
Here,
sense.
Here's a fun DDP fact because I like to do my research as we're talking. He was the person he was the person that drove Rhythm and Blues to the ring at WrestleMania 6.
Yep, that was his car too.
Yeah. That's kind of neat. I mean, just to think about that, that was the Hogan Warrior WrestleMania. He was on the card even though he wasn't on the card.
It's like, wasn't CM Punk one of a driver in one of the WrestleManias?
He's one of the
get
guys
started?
hanging off the car with the Tommy gun for
Yeah.
Cena's entrance.
Yeah.
Well, and then you had the four horsewomen. Most of them were like an entrance with Triple H
Yeah.
prior to being out there.
Mm-hmm. It's cool that they do that kind of stuff for the up and coming people.
Yeah, it's really neat. I mean, they do that with the skits and stuff too. If you look at old skits, sometimes you'll see them play a police officer
Yeah.
or a doctor or something
Yeah.
like that. I always like the buff doctors.
Who was the guy that came in with? He had the party. He had the party.
Adam
Rose. Yeah.
Adam Rose.
Yeah.
Part of the
his-
legendary Rose wrestling
His
family.
rosebuds.
Yeah. One of
Have
his
you
people was Braun Strowman.
Yeah. He had a lot of people in there. If you look at some of those old pictures, and
Mhm.
he's completely changed his look.
Yeah, he's huge
Adam
now.
Rose, he's just jacked now. But yeah, so back to DDP. Sorry, we get on tangents, but that's what Legends talk is. I mean, it's about networking, it's about connections, it's about how you relate to one another. And even when you play the Legends game, that's kind of how you have to view it, because so many of these guys didn't truly interact.
Right.
I think that's part of the fun in Legends is how would these guys interact if they were in a federation together.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in WCW, he first was the manager of the Fabulous Freebirds. I did not realize that.
That must have been pretty brief.
That would have been Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin.
Yeah, it was the Jimmy Garvin and Michael P.S. Hayes.
Yeah, because Gordy was already wrestling with Steve Williams over in Japan at this point.
Yeah, so that's when he made his debut.
I remember him first as an announcer in WCW.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The earliest memory I have him was as the Diamond Stud era.
I didn't watch a lot of WCW stuff back then.
We didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had TBS on cable, so that was my Saturday. Like, I think they were on in the afternoon because Saturday morning was the WWE stuff, and then once a month was Saturday Night Main Event. But TBS always had WCW on, or NWA even.
605.
Yeah, so that was on quite a bit. That's where I saw most of the WCW stuff. And then I always loved going to the video store and grabbing a WCW paper. I watched a lot of the Lethal Lotteries and the Halloween
Those were
Havocs
fun.
Stuff like that. I mean, they were written horribly. If you go back and watch them
you
ever,
can predict
it's like
the winner of every one of them.
Well, you can not only the winner, you can predict who's going to be teamed with who and who's going to go against them. Like, it's like, this was poor writing. Like, this, you could have randomized it and made it interesting. You know me, I'm a big fan, and anybody that's tuned in for any amount of time that I've been on this show knows I love randomization. I think that randomization challenges you as a writer, and that's what the greatness of GWF and Legends of Wrestling is. But you could take it a step further with your booking, and Lethal Lottery was the perfect culmination of that. Like, when I was growing up, I was like, oh, they're going to draw partners out of a hat, and you've got good guys and bad guys, and they can be teamed together, they can go against each other. But it was so just obvious. It was absurd.
Whoever was feuding at the time ended up on the team.
Yeah, and it's like, if Rick Steiner's on this team, guess who's going to get drafted on the other team? Oh, it's Scott Steiner. I mean, it was every time. It was like, couldn't you write it a little better? Like,
No.
It had to be campy.
Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest break for DDP as a wrestler was his feud with Macho Man Randy Savage. I remember, I think it was like 96, 97, they were doing the house show loop for WCW. And that crowd was so hot. And you knew, I think Savage had one of the titles at the time, and you knew it wasn't going to change hands, but those crowds were so hot for that feud. It was so good.
Well, and he feuded with Savage for a long time. I mean, off and on for 4 years there. I mean, it went on.
I guess there's a story where Savage called it in the ring. He was supposed to win over Dallas. And the Nitro before the pay-per-view, he hit a diamond cutter, like snuck up on him, hit a diamond cutter. And Savage is like, we're changing it. Like, diamond cutter for the win. And Page is like, what? And he's like, just do it. So, and that put him on the map then after that.
And
Made a
that
good
really
guy.
that kind of surprises me too, because I mean I've listened to podcasts and I remember listening to Ricky Steamboat, and he said Randy Savage was one of those guys when he worked with him, he mapped out the match move by move by move by move,
Hmm.
like it was in succession.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, but that was only for the WrestleMania match. He wanted that match to be perfect.
and it was. Or as
I mean
close to it as you could.
it has lived in infamy for sure.
And the thing with DDP was one of those guys who, all his televised matches were, he wanted step by step by step and over and over till you knew every last spot. And the guys I know would intentionally stay away from him so they didn't have time to, to go over the match and have to call it in the ring, and it would just send them into like anxiety. And they do it on purpose.
That's not nice.
But the time when Diamond Dallas Page, I think it was his first world title. I don't remember for sure, but I think it is. Was at Spring Stampede, and he was in that four-way match with Sting, Hogan, Flair,
Hmm.
and he got the win. I mean, and Savage was the guest referee in that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how over he was. I mean, you're talking Hogan, Flair, Sting,
yeah.
and he
At the
got the
height of the
win.
NWO.
Yeah. So, and
He's a
Goldberg was there too at that point, but he hadn't built up to that
Mm.
level.
wasn't he a Triple Crown winner or something like that? Like he held all the big titles.
He had to have.
Yeah, he did. I can give you that rundown. I had that up before.
He held
You
the
know what?
world title, the U.S. title, and the TV title, I think.
He was a three-time world champ. So in WCW, he was let's see here, three-time world champ. He was world television champion one time, United States champion two times, tag team champion four times, once with Bam Bam Bigelow, um, with Chris Canyon, I think twice. I don't know. It says Chris Canyon twice and then Kevin Nash. Yeah, he was the fourth WCW Triple Crown winner ever, and he was also, I don't know if you remember when they did this. This was part of that. I think it was part of the Leaf Lottery. Actually, they had the Lord of the Ring tournament, and he won that in 1996.
Nice. So that was when he was pretty much just starting as a wrestler then. 96. The Lord of the Ring. There was an actual ring for that, wasn't there?
Yeah, they gave you a ring, and I think he punched people with it for a while.
Yeah, because he was still bad.
Yeah, and he had turns. I mean, he turned on Goldberg at one point when they were trying to get that feud going.
Yeah, they turned him heel whenever Ready to Rumble came out too, because
Yeah,
the
because he
character
was
was
the
bad.
bad guy in the
Hmm.
movie, which I think he did well at that.
I think he's also well known for the first person to really damage the NWO.
Oh yeah,
He left
I
Scott
mean,
Hall laying with the diamond cutter whenever they tried to recruit him.
minus Sting in the bat, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know if that happened before or not.
that might have
Yeah,
been before that because it was pretty early because he was
Yeah,
the sixth guy they tried to recruit, or no, the eighth guy. He's like, what's the eighth guy? We're buddies. We're what the number eight?
yeah, and he had the NW shirt on, and he tore it off, and had the DDP shirt, and
Yeah,
out of nowhere, his feud with Raven was really good too.
yeah,
If you remember
yeah.
that, they had the match where this is one of my favorite comments ever is when they had the Anything Goes match or something. I think it was at a Spring Stampede as well, and they were like, "Oh, he's hit him with everything but the kitchen sink," and then he brought out a kitchen sink, and they're like, "Oh, and there's the kitchen sink."
I remember part of that was he exposed Raven as a fraud. Like he went to his house and he showed like his mansion that he grew up in and stuff like that.
So DDP was the fourth. Listen to this roster, the fourth Triple Crown winner in WCW. It was Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Sting, and then DDP.
Wow.
Now
that's some pretty good company.
it went on. Goldberg got it. Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Scott Steiner, and Booker T. Could there be any less underwhelming than Bret Hart's run in WCW? By the way,
He
I
accomplished
mean,
a lot in that brief run though,
Yeah.
yeah, but
apparently.
how awful was it? I mean, they took a guy that was red hot.
Hmm.
He was a hero in Canada and a villain in America, and nobody cared when he got to WCW.
Well, they waited too long, and then they had that stupid special guest referee thing that they did with him that they totally botched.
Yeah,
I guess he wasn't even supposed to go out for that. But Hogan was playing his creative control card, so he wanted some kind of screw job
yeah.
ending.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Yeah.
But DDP did go on during, and he was one of the few ones that I would say had a somewhat successful run in WWE after the invasion. I mean,
Yeah.
him and Canyon feuded with Undertaker and Kane.
Hmm.
They
But
did win the tag team title, and then he also won the European title at one point.
Hmm.
And at that point he was pretty old. I mean, he didn't make his break until later in his
Yeah,
career.
yeah, he was
from
probably
what
in
I
his late
understand too,
40s.
he managed to piss off Taker, and that buried him.
Well, that happens in WWE, especially because I
Yeah,
mean, DDP is now 67 years old.
wow. He's
So
almost
I
as
mean,
old as Flair.
in his prime, he didn't hit his prime until 40. I mean, we're talking
Hmm.
wrestling. He
I'm
didn't win
hoping
his
I hit
first.
my prime at 40.
Well, I've already passed that, and I haven't hit it yet. I'm hoping. No,
There's a guy I watch called Dr. Bo Hightower. He's on YouTube, and he's a chiropractor, and so he works on a ton of wrestlers, and for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, he's working on them. He's hammering them because he uses a hammer and like a pole because the wrestlers are so strong he can't put their bones and
uh,
muscles back into place. And but it's neat because he'll do WWF guys, he'll do NWA guys, he'll do independent guys, he'll do AEW guys, and it's literally like a shoot interview. He's just asking them questions, and they're just talking about their beginnings and all this. And one of the episodes he did DDP, and DDP's talking about his whole career, and he goes, even now he's breaking down, even though he's got his DDP yoga. He's like,
yeah,
I'm still hurting.
Yeah.
yeah. I like the yoga, and I like that he helps former wrestlers too. I mean, Jake Roberts had a stint there, and Scott Hall did, and
Hmm.
he tries to take them in and work with them. He
I,
also,
I look. I like one thing. I tried the DDP yoga, and I just couldn't afford to keep doing it. But I like the nutrition part of the app. I thought
Mhm.
was really good because he based everything on Costco, like what you could get at Costco, which I thought was cool because that's what we have near us is a Costco. So it's like, we actually did a lot of the recipes, and they were pretty good, and they're apparently clean and all that. So
like this DDP guy, he gets us.
he gets it.
That's our guy. No,
Costco.
he did seem like the everyman, though. I mean, he's
He
not the
did.
one you thought would get over, and to make headlines like he did, I mean, that's impressive.
Hmm.
He did
People loved them.
he accompanied Cody Rhodes at All In, the
Hmm.
very first one.
Yeah. So did
So,
Glacier.
yep.
Uh, there's a missed spot. I read about Glacier the other day, and they had a huge budget for his entrance, like
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars, like to get him over with the snow and this and that. And
I think if they would have gave him decent opponents, he could have gotten over. He
I
could
think
have.
it
Glacier
was
and moves like 1-2. Yes.
I think it was the era. We were getting in away from the characters into the NWO area, and that's really when Glacier with his feud with Mortis and
Hmm.
Wrath kind of started. And it's like, we
Yeah, a
got
little
guys
late.
coming over in jean jackets with their NWO shirts spray painting people, and here you are with this guy from Mortal Kombat.
It was such a bad ripoff too of Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat. But I thought he was decent in the ring and stuff
yeah, he
and
wasn't a bad
looked
wrestler.
believable.
He had a good
Who was he
look.
before that? Wasn't he just like a cop or something like that?
Oh, I don't remember. I
I
didn't do my
I
prep
barely
work on
remember
Glacier.
Glacier. I think I saw him
Hey,
wrestle once.
Blood Runs Cold
Then you didn't watch
coming
enough.
soon.
You did not watch enough WCW if you only watched him once, because I saw him plenty.
Well, we definitely saw more vignettes announcing him than we actually
Yeah.
saw of him.
He was the Veer Mahan of his time.
Yeah.
Veer is coming. No, no, I like it. I mean, without Mortis, we never got Canyon. And
Right?
Canyon was one of my favorites.
Hmm.
I loved it. I think that he's a athlete that could have transcended time and could have in this era. I think he still would thrive.
Yeah, he came up with so many moves.
Oh, the innovator of offense there.
It was a great nickname too.
Yeah, he was entertaining. And then when he got to actually show his personality with the who better than Canyon, it was.
Hmm.
And I think he could have done a lot more, and him being with DDP helped too,
I
because
like when he
DDP was already
impersonated
over.
DDP for a while.
It's always fun when they can do a good impersonation.
Uh-huh. He just had the blonde wig on top of his head. The rest of his hair was there. It was funny.
How would you use DDP in your Fed, in your Legends Fed?
I think I'd build a stable around him. Have him start heels and then have the group turn on him and then have him spin out as the baby face.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'd be good to introduce him as a manager first and team him with somebody, even somebody like Kurt Hennig or somebody that he actually had a connection with, and then eventually turns on because Kurt Hennig was usually a bad guy.
Right.
Like that would be the good turn for me. I kind of wish his card was a little better just because of the 3-time WCW champion.
Yeah.
I wish it was better because when I did play Legends more frequently, he was one guy I wanted to push, and I was like, it's just hard. He's mid-tier at best.
I do like how you can do the diamond cutter on defense. That's kind of a cool mechanic.
Because you should be able to.
Yeah, because he countered just about everything into
out of
it
nowhere.
at one point.
I think I'd bring him in just as a loner.
Yeah, because he did that well too.
Yeah,
he did. I just think it takes a bit of build up to get in there. I mean, I always have that fondness of him starting off as a manager and breaking in later. But for me, I feel like that's how I'd have to introduce him is he's with somebody and then eventually has enough of their stuff. And
so he's Darkos?
Yeah, pretty much, but good guy version.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very theatrical. Kimberly didn't hurt things once that was revealed that they were husband and wife. I mean,
yeah.
Married to a Nitro girl.
Just like Shawn Michaels.
He was married to a Nitro girl.
Yeah.
Then then we got to switch him into the GWF mode.
I think you could do his whole story in the GWF too, just like it played out in real life.
For me, I had him as a manager this time, but managing grunge and
Metalhead.
Is
that what it was?
Sleaze.
Sleaze. Generation X.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good fit for him.
Not D Generation though.
No.
It could be DDP Generation X.
DDP Generation X.
Bang.
Bang. Self high five. I always wondered where the self high five was. I felt like that was a homage to Barry Horowitz. He's like, I'm gonna do you one better. I'm not gonna give myself that. I'm gonna give myself a high five. Bang.
With his knockoff Nirvana music.
Well, there was no better knockoff than Van Hammer, though.
Yeah. WCW's knockoff music was pretty entertaining. Everybody, you could tell exactly what song they ripped off.
Well, you know what's a shame is that WWE doesn't have the rights to some of those songs. So when you go back and watch that stuff, like Hogan's entrance, it doesn't have Jimi Hendrix. It's like, you can't do that. Now everybody thinks, the whole generation is going to think he comes out to the regular NWO music. Like, that's
his air guitar's way off.
Yeah. And well, I mean, it fit his character though. He was in a group, but I'm so good, I'm not coming out to the same music. I mean, that was part of his persona.
Right.
So it hurts to not have that music, and
they're not going to spend money on licensing.
No, and I get that, but it just sucks to go back and watch. It's like that's not Hogan.
And a lot of those generic WCW themes are like sports highlight songs. Because if you'd watch like a TBS baseball game, and then they'd run a highlight package at the end, and it's just playing like Chris Jericho's theme song or something like that.
Yeah, they didn't have Jim Johnson doing like WWF.
No, and you had guys like Savage that had the pomp and circumstance. I mean.
Public domain.
Flair had what was Flair's song? I remember it.
2001: Space Odyssey.
2001.
Yeah, but that's a classical song too.
Yeah, but
back in the
I haven't gone back and watched. So I bet they don't have that.
They should have that. I mean, they probably just have to use a different recording of it.
Oh no,
because that was a song before it was even in that movie.
Yeah, I did a show years and years ago, and we all came in with our ring entrance music. And then I saw it on TV because it was being televised, and we're all coming into different forms of classical music because of public domain. And I'm like, I don't even know what I came into. It's just, what? It was almost like somebody's like, beat number 3 on the keyboard.
But could you imagine if that role was like reversed and WWE was bought out, and then they put their show on a different app, and then all of a sudden you don't have Stone Cold, the glass breaking. You know what I mean? It adds to the ambiance. Like
you would have to buy the licensing for some of it.
But that's why I view the Hogan like on there when they play the NWO music. I'm like, that's not why it popped. It would have popped because he got the voodoo.
And because of that too, the crowd's always all muffled and stuff because they have to relay the audio track, and it sounds like the crowd's completely dead.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's I guess wrestling with the wrong music is better than no wrestling.
Yeah, it's true.
So we got anything else for DDP? Nobody else has done the hand sign yet, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Bang.
Now that should be the avatar for the episode. Oh wait, we got all three doing it at the same time. Every time I do it, Mike puts his hands down.
I'm just gonna keep it up the rest of the show.
That's a filter. He's missing a marketing opportunity. That's like a Snapchat filter or
Yeah.
something. I don't
So you
have
have
any
to
of
do
those
it with your
apps,
own
but
hands.
yeah, you have the DDP filter.
If any of us knew anything about computers, we can make one and market it.
Let's
I'm
do it.
I'm gonna just go ahead and tag DDP in this video and tell him tune in at this moment, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh. Next thing you know, the Snapchat phase of DDP.
Bang.
Bang.
Good stuff.
Well, I
All
really
right.
thought we'd talk a little more Ready to Rumble, but Mike hasn't seen it.
Yeah, he needs to see it. That's your homework for the year. You have to watch Ready to Rumble before the end of 2023, since we've met our other goal of
I don't even know if
123.
it's on any streaming services
I
anymore.
have it. I bought it. It's on Vudu. I've got it. We can watch it. I'll give you my login or something.
He's purchased it. It's good.
I had to have it. It's a wrestling movie. Like it's up there,
It is one of the better wrestling movies.
Are there any other legends in that movie that we have in the game? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I honestly think we need a David Arquette card.
I mean, I'm not opposed.
It'd be a fun gimmicky thing where he somehow wins the title or something
Well,
like
he's
that.
come back too and wrestled
Yeah,
for real. I mean,
yeah. He fought
so
Nick Gage in a death match.
yeah. So I mean, he's done his part. This isn't the WWE Celebrity Hall of Fame. He's done his
Hmm.
part. He can
Yes.
get a card. Trying to think of who else was featured on there. Goldberg, Booker
Oh,
T.
Sting and Goldberg were in it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Some of the other guys, Van Hammer, I think, was in it because I think
Rey
he was one of
Mysterio,
the
John Cena,
Disco Inferno was in it, right?
Randy Savage, Billy Kidman, Bam Bam Bigelow,
Yeah, there was a
Sid
lot.
Vicious, Kurt Hennig, Conan,
Conan.
There's two
Ah, there you go.
legends.
Juventud, Disco
There's another
Inferno.
one. There's another one.
Do we have a Quasi Juice Guerrera card?
Yes.
He was one of my favorites too, especially when he was doing the rock thing.
Yeah.
Finally, the juice has come back to San Jose. We're in San Francisco. It doesn't matter where we are.
Good stuff.
Booker T's in it.
Yeah, Booker T was in it. I remember that because he was one of the good guys. Him and Goldberg.
Jimmy King, is that the guy's name?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ain't none higher.
Oliver Platt.
Yeah.
I've been told I look like him. I don't know how to feel about that.
I mean, he was WCW World Heavyweight
That's
Champion
true.
in the movie. Of course, I think he also had syphilis, but that's in the movie.
In the movie, yeah, not in real life.
If Oliver Platt ever gets tagged in this, in the movie.
Jimmy King, not Oliver Platt.
Yeah. So I think we were on Jimmy King,
Hmm.
and I will rule you. No.
Mike needs to watch it. And
I
then we'll
say
do a review of the movie.
until Mike watches it, our homework in every episode is to make references to Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just so he feels out of the loop until he watches it.
Yeah,
We're gonna force the issue.
I like it.
It's going to be painful though.
It's not a bad
Nah,
movie.
it's not that bad.
It's entertaining. I think
It made David Arquette win a world title.
nah, that's awful. I give you that.
It wasn't David Arquette's fault, though. He never
No.
campaigned for that.
Can we blame that on Vince Russo? Was Vince Russo on WCW at that
I
point?
think he was.
Yeah, let's just blame that on Russo because Russo's crap anyway. So
I think we can blame that on AOL Time Warner.
there you go. They're like, let's get the dumb cop from Scream.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, it would have even been somewhat understandable if they'd have brought Oliver Platt in and the Jimmy King character won the title.
Yeah, because at least he was a bigger guy.
What? Like, David Arquette wasn't even the wrestler in the movie.
No,
Like,
he just
he was just
yeah,
a fan
right.
who loved wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because isn't Oliver Platt the wrestler?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was Jimmy King.
Yeah.
And I was saying before, one of my buddies who wrestles as Jimmy King, but he was doing that in since about 95.
They had the What Would King Do was the thing.
Trained by Ron Hutchinson. A legend.
Maybe Ready to Rumble was based on him.
Yeah.
There was a Jimmy King. I had to double check because I thought that was his name on the Fab Five, the Michigan team, with Juwan Howard and Chris Webber. Jimmy King was one of the players.
Actually, you
Nice.
saw me wrestle Jimmy King.
I did?
Yep. It was at one of the Galacticans.
Nice.
This just took a weird turn.
Yep.
A guy that never saw Ready to Rumble wrestle Jimmy King.
Hmm.
And I'm still friends with him to this day.
There you go.
I think we got to give props to Mike and his hoodie tonight, the Ribera Steakhouse.
Nice.
I think he's the only one wearing a wrestling themed shirt today.
It's true.
I
just have blatant self-promotion.
Oh, be a jerk, Brock.
This was gifted to me about a year ago by a friend who's a big wrestling fan. And but I couldn't fit into it.
Nice.
Goals.
Yep.
No, I'm actually there. You go. The Office. I don't know if you can see.
There you go. It was blurred out for
NBA Jam Office shirt, which you know.
I'm officially down 50 pounds, so
that's awesome.
Into it.
Good for you.
Do you want to shamelessly plug your weight loss group?
The COTG weight loss group.
Do it.
We could get some DDP yoga posted on there.
Yeah.
Goes full circle.
Okay.
Bang.
My cousin's one of his trainers. Is a qualified DDP trainer because he trains people to
Mm-hmm.
And so he came up to this area of Canada, Southern Ontario, and trained a bunch of people to do his DDP yoga for like a month.
That's cool.
So as long as he didn't go to Guelph.
That's where it was probably held.
Guelph.
No. Nothing good comes from Guelph.
In Guelph. Unless you watch King of the Hill, then they reference Guelph as well.
Ooh.
Damn it, Bobby, if you weren't my son, I'd hug you. We could have a King of the Hill episode, just four of us holding a beer. Yep.
Let's do it.
Yo, Boomhauer.
Hang on, man.
Good times.
We should probably put a bow on this.
Yeah, because we're getting a little off the rails here.
Not much DDP talk anymore.
Yeah, we need more DDP talk.
We
DDP
do.
for world champion in Legends of Wrestling.
I like it. Let's push.
Let's do it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please click that big red subscribe button, which is Jeff has to point to it because he's on the bottom row. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. We've met our astronomical goal of 123 subscribers in 2023, so that's the big time there. So now our goal is 1,000.
Wow.
Yep.
Those are galactic size numbers.
Yeah, we might need the whole galaxy to reach that number, but
those are bigger than Solo Promoter, and he's got 905.
And he's good at this.
I watch Grant stuff all the time, and I just checked it out today, and he's 905.
Shout out to Grant. He just finished a overview video of every Champions of the Galaxy base set.
That's what I was watching.
Yep. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So credit to him and his dedication to the craft and the game and the community. Can't say enough good things about Grant.
Now we need to power creep this podcast.
We do. I'd rather Grant get to 1,000 first before us because he deserves it more than we do.
Would you give him 95 of your followers?
They're probably all crossover. Let's be honest.
I
was just asking hypothetical.
Oh, absolutely.
Other than my wife and daughter and son-in-law, probably all.
Yeah, it's all crossover. But anyway, while you're here, please scroll on down to the description. You'll find links to all these things we're talking about, including the Filsinger Games podcast, Roll Up, the Legends Team's Uncharted Territory, Lee Longpre's Dizzy Dice, Grant's Filsinger Games Fancast, And then here on YouTube, you'll also find Solo Promoter that we've referenced. If you haven't given them a subscription yet, please do so because he's closing in on 1,000. We want him to get there. Also, check out After Further Review and Dave Little's Heartland Championship Wrestling, which he plays live on Saturday evenings, I believe. He usually posts on the Facebook group when he's about to go live, so check him out. You'll find my Twitch information, BrocsterBuilds.com if you want to buy a Power Creeper card or one of these sweet t-shirts. Sorry. And yeah, so check that all out. And until then, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Later.
Have a good night. Bang.
Bang.
Bang.